Also tonight, in about an hour, a man is scheduled to be executed by a firing squad. Stephen Bryant will be the third person this year to be executed by this method. He asked the governor for clemency. However, no South Carolina governor has offered clemency since the death penalty resumed in the U.S. in 1976. Bryant was convicted of murdering Willard Tietjen in Sumter County back in 2004. We have team coverage of tonight's execution with our Kiana Jordan and Megan Gagno, live from Broad River Correctional in Columbia. We begin with Kiana with the history of this case. Kiana.
Yeah, Friendy, Stephen Bryant is expected to be executed in just an hour or so for the murder of Willard Tietjen. Now, I do want to give a disclaimer for some of the details that I'm about to say. They are going to be gruesome, but authorities say that Bryant burned the victim's eyes with cigarettes after shooting him several times and taunted the police with a message written using the victim's blood. Now, all of Bryant's appeals to the Supreme Court were denied, and he is expected to be executed by firing squad.
On October 11th, prosecutors say Stephen Bryant came upon Willard Tietjen's home pretending to either be looking for someone or having car trouble when he shot Tietjen 9 times and burglarized his home. Authorities say Bryant also answered the victim's phone calls from his wife and daughter telling them he was the prowler and that Tietjen was dead. He also left messages for the police written in the victim's blood saying, "Victim number 4 in 2 weeks. Catch me if you can." Prosecutors say that day was one of several violent crimes Bryant had already committed. On October 9th, 2004, he killed a friend. 2 days later, on the 11th, he killed Tietjen. On the 13th, he murdered his last victim, a man he met at a convenience store. According to justiaus.law, Bryant was a troubled youth with a juvenile record that started at the age of 11. The case review goes on to say that in September 2004, Bryant also sought mental health counseling before the crime spree.
Now, the state Supreme Court denied Bryant's attorney's request to have this execution delayed due to his attorneys being impacted by the government shutdown. Now, his death warrant was issued on October 16. As of right now, this execution by firing squad is expected to happen at 6 tonight, and only the governor can grant clemency, but no South Carolina governor has ever done so. We'll continue to keep you updated with this execution as the night goes on. Live from Broad River Correctional, I'm Kiana Jordan. Watch Fox News, local first.
All right, Kiana, thanks. Well, just outside the gates of Broad River Correctional, protesters continue their efforts to call for the governor to intervene. Our Megan Gagno is there where activists have started arriving. She continues our team coverage. Megan, things are starting to get started right now. What's the scene looking like?
That's right, Friendy. And as you can see behind me here, there's some protesters starting to line the streets outside of the prison with some signs reading "End the death penalty, stop executions now, and no more death row," for what will be South Carolina's 7th execution this year. Now, with just an hour until tonight's scheduled execution, emotions are running high. Some here believe this is a failure in the justice system, and there are alternative measures to the death penalty. This is one of 3 vigils organized by the group South Carolinians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty, who warned that if clemency is not granted, South Carolina will be tied for the most firing squad executions in the modern era of the death penalty. Now, I just spoke to Reverend Hillary Taylor, the executive director for South Carolinians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty, and she says these stats are not something to be proud of and that mental health should be a priority. Now, at this point, there has been no word from the governor about intervening in the execution. Now, Stephen Bryant will be the 3rd person in the state to be executed by firing squad unless Governor McMaster steps in, and until then, protesters say they will continue their efforts out here. In Columbia, I'm Megan Gagno. Watch Fox News, local first.